Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Chair. It is truly an honor to be here today. Before I get started, let's just give another hand to that lovely songstress, June E. Towns, in gospel. To J.D. Geronimo, I want to personally thank you for those kind words and support throughout my time here at Becker College. You are the epitome of leadership, and it's truly been a pleasure to work with you to move this institution forward. To the members of the Board of Trustees, members of the Platform Party, faculty, staff, students, the Inauguration Committee, members of the ECA Becker family, community leaders, families, friends, and everyone else who is here, it is with a humble spirit that I accept this privilege to be the 10th president of Becker College. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To my dear friend, Emmett Carson, for over 30 years, we have been friends. And I want to thank you for that warm and memorable introduction. As Morehouse men, we are brothers and bonded for life. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I want to thank all of the supporters here from the community and all of my family and friends who have traveled from many miles across the country to be here today. First and foremost, I want to thank my wife, Michelle. And my son and daughter, Alex and Jasmine. It is because of their love and support that I'm standing here today. Thank you. They are truly anchors that have been a part of my life, and they help to keep me grounded. But lastly, I'd like to acknowledge two people that no matter what, they believed in me. Mom, Dad, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. They have always believed in me no matter what. They helped me to understand the power of believing and positive thinking. They taught me the power of believing in myself and knowing that I could make a difference, of maintaining a positive mental attitude. No matter what, I knew there were two people who would stand with me regardless of the challenges. Thank you for believing me. You see, it is the power of believing in something that is the foundation of Becker College and what it stands for today. It is the power of believing that John Hancock and Samuel Adams had when they signed the original charter for Worcester Academy in 1784. Today, our Leicester campus sits on those hallowed grounds. Hancock and Adams had just come off of the cusp of a great revolution because they believed in an idea. And we now have taken that idea and we have the greatest country on the face of the earth called the United States of America. It is the power of believing that E.C.A. Becker had, who founded our institution. This power of believing is something that will propel Becker College today and in the future in this rapidly changing world. Becker College is built on a simple idea. It is an idea that we can educate an ordinary person who can go out and do extraordinary things. I want to spend the next few moments covering 3 simple points. The first is the context of higher education in our global economy. The second is the challenges that confront our industry. And lastly, I want to talk to our students about the power of believing and realizing your dreams and doing extraordinary things. First, let me talk about the context of our times. The world is rapidly changing around us. The challenge for us today is to build this college and the higher education industry to meet the needs of the present age. Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, once said, "If the rate of change in your institution is slower than the rate of change in the world, then the end is in sight." The challenge for Becker College and all of higher education is to make sure that our industry does not have the end in sight. Just think about the context of higher education and how it has changed in my lifetime. When I was in college, we used a typewriter to do research papers, Emmett. I thoroughly remember using correctotype and whiteout. I distinctly remember my English professor, Dr. Annie Watts, who didn't allow us to use whiteout. One night I was typing a paper, got to the last sentence on the page, made a mistake, and had to retype the whole page all over again. But today, the software corrects your typing, does spell check while you're typing. And there's voice recognition software that will write the paper for you if you just speak into the microphone. My, how the world has changed. I had to walk through the stacks of the library to conduct research. Today, college students have access to and connectivity to information all over the world. Our economy has gone global, and it is rare that a person will graduate from college today and work for the same company their entire career. According to the Department of Labor and some futurists, college graduates will have 10 to 14 jobs by the age of 38. 7 of the top 10 jobs today did not exist in 2004. The global economy is trying to find a new normal, an equilibrium that is causing some winners and some losers. The world is becoming flatter as it relates to information and communication, and the innovation of new technologies is increasing at an exponential rate. Going back to Jack Welch's earlier quote, it's the rate of change of higher education keeping pace with the rate of change in the global economy. Is higher education agile enough? Higher education is at this interesting crossroad when you consider the context of our time. We have essentially gone back to a pre-World War II higher education system of haves and have-nots. Sure, anyone can go to college, but at what price? If you do not come from a wealthy family, the amount of student loan debt that you can potentially incur is staggering. When a college graduate finishes school, they can spend the first 10 or 15 years of their life paying back student loans. Sometimes they cannot afford to buy a house or a car because of the debt. Many times they have student loan payments that are higher than some people's mortgage payments. They go on to start a family, and because of their student loan debt, they can't save for their kids' college education. So then the cycle starts all over again. Please be clear, there's a significant value in attaining a college education. According to the Census Bureau, a person with a college degree will earn $1 million more over their career than a person with a high school diploma. A master's degree or professional degree will reap $1.5 million and $3.4 million more, respectively, over a lifetime. However, according to the Department of Education, we are on the precipice of a student loan debt topping over $1 trillion. Student loan debt in this country will soon exceed credit card debt. It is potentially the next big bubble that could burst. At the same time, our middle class, as we have known it, is disappearing. The new normal is wiping people out. It's wiping people out in America one by one. One of my dear friends I attended high school with is such an example. Right after high school, he got a job in the factory at Ford Motor Company. He married someone who was also working in the factory. Each of them with a high school diploma, they collectively earned almost $200,000 a year with overtime. They lived in the suburbs. They had a home. They sent their kids to private K through 12 school and private colleges with no student loan debt. 4 years ago, I received a call from him, and he said, "Robert, what am I going to do?" He and his wife both lost their jobs at Ford. The plant that they worked at had closed, and there were no more jobs. At that time, they were 47 years old. Where could they go and get jobs to earn almost $200,000 a year with a high school diploma? If they had gone back to college, they would have been almost 50 years old when they graduated. And if they were lucky to find a job after that, they might earn $30,000 or $40,000 if they were lucky. They are typical how the new normal has impacted many Americans in our global economy. I tell this story to set the context of how the industry of higher education is being challenged today. My two friends could be the parents of any students attempting to go to college today or in the very near future. Globalization will persist, and the middle class, as we know it, will continue to shrink. The state of higher education is challenged and at a crossroad. What I have described is the world that I, along with other college presidents, have to lead our institutions through during this time. I believe we can and we will meet the challenges of the present age. However, it will not be easy. We cannot solve 21st century higher education problems with 19th and 20th century solutions. We cannot operate our institutions that were created for an agrarian and mass production economy, and in some instances, they have not changed, and expect them to compete in a 21st century, knowledge-driven global society without a paradigm shift. We cannot pretend that public policy has already decided that our industry is no longer a public good. We cannot pretend that the only way our students can learn in the classroom is from a lecture when they use interactive tools like iPhones and iPads as a way of life. I could take my cell phone right now and call my two kids, and they wouldn't answer the phone. I could text them or communicate with them via Facebook or Twitter, and I would get an instant response. When was the last time you saw a phone booth? How many of you read the newspaper online? When you're in the mood for some good music, do you fire up one of those old 45 vinyl records, or do you plug in your iPod? Our industry cannot act as if there's not a new normal in the world, and it does not affect us. The world has changed, and we must too. Unfortunately, not enough of us understand that, and we must change our paradigm, or many of our institutions will close. As I look to the future, I envision a higher education system that is globally competitive, technologically advanced, and is second to none. Please note that McKinsey & Company reported that 95% of all students attending college are not attending the elite institutions like Harvard and Yale and Stanford. Most of them go to ordinary institutions that are not part of that elite 200 or 300 institutions. If the majority of institutions do not adjust to this new normal that is taking place and change at a more rapid pace, then for some, in the words of Jack Welch, the end is in sight. I am optimistic and believe our industry and Becker College will change with the times. It should not be our vision to emulate other institutions. Our goal must be to reinvent ourselves as individuals and as an innovative college that prepares our students for the 21st century global economy. Our students need to create a personal brand that enables them to work as free agents in a competitive global knowledge economy. Whether America decides higher education is a public good or not, we must pick up the mantle of quality, excellence, and innovation and boldly ensure that this industry reinvents itself and meets the needs of the present age for future generations. John Hancock and Samuel Adams fought for an idea that is the embodiment of the American dream. We must believe in the industry of higher education and fight to ensure that we do not just live in the moment, but that we lift our industry and create the history of today that leaders of tomorrow will be proud of. The speed of change will continue to accelerate. There were 2.4 billion users of Google in 2006. Today, per month, Today, there are over 31 billion monthly users of Google. It does make you wonder what was going on or what did we do before Google. Globalization is a challenge and an opportunity. The question is, will we seize the moment? Will we believe in something bigger than ourselves? Will we continue to believe in a simple idea that a college education is a public good and can create a better way of life? Will we fight to make sure our industry is relevant to meet the needs of the present age? I assert we must connect our minds to the marketplace. The pace of change is quick. We are literally educating students for jobs that do not yet exist and to solve problems we have not yet defined. We must be innovative and creative in this environment focused on outcomes and accountabilities. Nationally, we have a broken K-12 system that does not adequately prepare students for college or the world ahead. We must reinvent our model of higher education to address this challenge. The value proposition of higher education is broken. We must find a new equilibrium that adds value and clearly articulates the industry's role as a public good. As we press forward at Becker College, we must understand our role in the context of the times we are living. We must not be ahistorical. We must examine the past, the present, and the future. This is a tipping point in our industry. We must be vigilant, and we must believe that we shall make a difference. Since our humble beginnings as an institution at Becker College, we have believed in the basic notion of the individual student and their ability to achieve success. Our challenge today and in the future is to never stop believing that each person can make a difference and achieve their dream. I would like to take just a short moment to talk to the students. To the students at Becker College, please understand that each of you are something big, a part of something bigger than yourselves. All of the people here today believe in you. They trust you. They want you to become successful. And not only do they believe in you, I believe in you. I can tell you from personal experience the power of believing and the power of having someone to believe in you. I would like to close my remarks today with this personal story about how, in part, my character was shaped and what can happen when someone believes in you. It was October of 1976. I had just started my senior year of high school. I was 16 years old. I had just gotten out of school. I had met with my high school counselor. I realized that I wanted to go to Morehouse College. I grew up in Detroit. And back then, on our block, the streets were lined with trees. It was the fall of the year, and you could see the leaves changing, and I was walking down the street. And as I walked down the street on my way home from school, my father was outside the house waiting on me. And he said, "Come on, go with me." And he said, "I want you to always remember, you have to believe, and you always have to have a positive attitude no matter what." And as we began to drive, my father, he wasn't, he didn't beat me, that type of thing. He put me in the car for 2 or 3 hours and drive me around. And sometimes I just wanted to say, "Stop the car, beat me," So I thought it was getting ready to be one of those things. But he started driving, and he said, "We have to go to the hospital. Your mother is sick, and the doctors have said that she doesn't have much of a chance. But I want you to remember the importance of believing and understanding that we believe in you." You see, there was an artery that was leading to my mother's brain that was closing. And the doctors had given up. And they had said, "It's just a matter of time, few days at most." We got to the hospital. I saw my mother, and she said, "Don't worry about me. I'm going to be all right." And she said, "I want you to always remember I believe in you, and you can do anything if you just believe." And my father said, "Son, I believe your mother can make it, but you're going to have to do something." And I said, well, what is that, Dad? What is it that I'm going to have to do? He said, "We've always taught you about the power of prayer, and I want you to pray for your mom. And if you pray for her and you actually believe it, then guess what? I believe that somehow or the other God will make a way." I'm like, wait a second. I'm 16 years old. I'm a senior in high school. And yeah, we went to church and we prayed and all that kind of stuff, sang in the choir, but you want me to do what? Yeah, you got to believe, though. And he said, "Remember, we always believe in you." So I did what my father told me to do. I went home that night and I prayed for my mother. And, I knew the Lord's Prayer and that sort of thing, but, I didn't really know how to pray. But, I had more of, I guess it was a monologue because I didn't hear anything back, A little conversation. And I did that, went on about my business. And 2 days later, the doctors came forward and said, "You know what? A new drug was just released by the FDA. And what this drug does is that if an artery is closed or is closing, it will open it up. And we're going to give it to your mom." We're like, "Seriously? You're going to do what?" And my mom received that drug. And that was in 1976. And here it is, 2011, and that power of believing allows her to be here today. Now, my mom has had several strokes throughout her life, even while I was at Morehouse College. And when times got tough, I would call her and say, "I don't know if I can make it. Maybe I should just come home and go to school locally." And she said, "No, you're going to stay right there because I believe in you." One time she had a stroke and she was in the hospital. She didn't know that I knew, but my buddies back in Detroit would call me. But I knew, Mom. And I would call her up and she said, "Don't you worry about me. I believe in you." My father would pick up the phone once a week and call me and say, "You know what? You can do this. Don't give up. When I had some rough times at Morehouse College and thought about quitting and thought about giving up and saying, I can't do this anymore, my parents continued to say, I believe in you. What I learned from my parents, which is the embodiment of the Becker spirit now and in the future, is don't be discouraged by the times or the trends. Don't be disheartened by the giants. Don't be stopped by the stones. Don't be frightened by the opposition. Don't be intimidated by the mountains. Don't be defeated by the difficulties in life. Students, what I discovered is that when you know someone believes in you, that the giants can't crush you, stones can't stop you, bricks can't break you, rocks can't kill you, trouble can't defeat you, and disappointment will never destroy you. When you know someone believes in you, you will discover that there's not a difficulty that perseverance can't master. There's not a mountain that determination can't move. There's not a door that hard work can't open. There's not a problem that believing can't change. There's not a sickness that God can't heal. There's not a prayer that God can't answer. There's not a wall that love can't level. There's not a burden that faith can't carry. There's not a sorrow that time can't remove. If you just believe in the human spirit, you will understand that you have tough equipment. You've got the right stuff to deal with any problem, to deal with anything. What my parents taught me is that God's grace is sufficient. His salvation is unrestricted. His deliverance is undeniable. His truth is irrefutable. His word is indisputable. His presence is unavoidable. His goodness is unchangeable. His power is unconquerable. His fire is inextinguishable. His spirit is uninhabitable. His work is unstoppable. And his life is indestructible. All you have to do is believe. Don't cry, just believe. Don't complain, just believe. Don't cop out, don't drop out, just believe. When you go home and your family won't treat you right, when you go back to school and the load gets heavy, don't fuss, don't fume, just believe. When your enemies do you wrong, don't repay wrong with wrong, repay wrong with good. If you lose your job, don't lose your joy. If you lose your health, don't lose your hope. If you lose your money, don't lose your meaning. If you lose a loved one, hold on to God's love. If your home is broken, don't let your spirit be broken. Just believe in the human spirit. If you had a hard way to go, walk by faith. If you have a problem, work until the work is done. If you have a misunderstanding, settle it. If they laugh at you, keep smiling. If they talk about you, keep believing. If they hate you, keep loving. And if they knock you down, embody the Becker spirit and know that there's nothing that you can't accomplish if you just believe.
Man, I'm out of breath, and I was just listening to the man. I believe that any of you who had doubts at the beginning of this ceremony when I told you what an enthusiastic, dynamic leader President Johnson is, I doubt you have those doubts now. Thank you, President Johnson. Indeed, we all... And again, thank you, President Johnson. We extend our best wishes to you as the 10th president of Becker College.